Sobat Investor, berikut ini adalah beberapa tips yang bisa kalian coba untuk mencapai financial freedom. Yang pertama, pahami kondisi finansial. Kalian harus paham berapa jumlah pendapatan dan berapa jumlah pengeluaran. Yang kedua adalah tentukan tujuan keuangan agar kedepannya kalian lebih mudah untuk menyusun strategi untuk mencapai tujuan keuangan tersebut. Ketiga, carilah sumber pendapatan yang lain. Biarlah pendapatan dari aset itu bisa menutupi pengeluaran utama atau pengeluaran pokok kalian. Yang keempat adalah investasi. Kalau Anda menyimpan uang di bank, nilainya akan terus tergerus. Tetapi kalau berinvestasi, nilainya akan terus bertambah. Yang kelima dan yang terakhir adalah lunasi segala hutang. Bila Anda memiliki tagihan ataupun hutang, segeralah melakukan pelunasan kapanpun Anda memiliki uang yang cukup. Itulah beberapa tips untuk mencapai financial freedom. Bagaimana dengan Anda, Sobat Investor?
Government increases excise rate for tobacco products or cigarettes. Good evening, viewers. Market Headlines is ready to provide you information from business, economic, and capital market sector. And as the pandemic is still ongoing, we will provide you the latest COVID-19 information. Please stay safe by taking some simple precautions such as physical distancing, wearing a mask, avoiding crowds, cleaning your hands, and having less mobility. And with me, Fajar Wayong, this is Market Headline. And let's open up market headlines. The government again increased the excise rate on tobacco products for 2022. The average increase in cigarette excise rates for 2022 reached 12%.
The government again increased the excise rate on tobacco products or cigarette excise for 2022. The average increase in cigarette excise rates for 2022 reached 12%. Despite the increase, the average increase is lower than in 2021, which is 12.5%.
Kenaikan tarif rata-rata cukai, Bapak Presiden memberikan arahan antara 10 hingga 12,5, kita menetapkan di 12%. Di sini dilihat untuk tahun 2021 dan nanti yang akan berlaku di 2022 dengan kenaikan rata-rata 12%. Ini kita melihat ekspektasi dengan kenaikan cukai ini, maka produksi rokok akan menurun dari 320 miliar batang menjadi 310 miliar batang.
Sri Mulyani explained that 12% increase in excise on tobacco products was carried out to achieve the target of reducing the prevalence of children aged 10 to 18 years to 8.83% from the target of 8.7% in 2024. The increase in excise taxes contributed to decline in access to cigarette purchases for early childhood. However, for hand-rolled kretek cigarettes, the government has set a lower excise rate increase, which is a maximum of 4.5%. The Minister of Finance said that the increase in cigarette excise tax next year will also contribute to reducing cigarette productions by 3% from 220.1 billion sticks to 310.4 billion cigarettes. And the price index for cigarettes was 13.77% from 12.7%. IDX Channel reports.
President Joko Widodo received a visit from the United States Minister of Foreign Affairs, Antony Blinken, at the Merdeka Palace. The two meetings were marked by discussions of a number of issues, including U.S. investment into Indonesia.
President Joko Widodo received a visit from the United States Minister of Foreign Affairs Antony J. Blinken at Merdeka Place. The two meetings were marked by discussions of a number of international issues. Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi said Jokowi and Blinken discussed bilateral cooperations. Jokowi expects investment from the U.S. into Indonesia.
Blinken. Pada saat menerima kunjungan kehormatan Menlu Blinken, Presiden menyampaikan antara lain penjelasan prioritas G20 Indonesia. Diskusi berjalan dengan sangat hangat dan terbuka dan tampak sekali komitmen Amerika Serikat untuk memperkuat kemitraannya dengan Indonesia termasuk di bidang ekonomi. Sekretari Blinken juga menyampaikan komitmen untuk bermitra dengan Indonesia dalam bidang investasi infrastruktur.
Blinken welcomes Jokowi's invitations to invest. The U.S. promised to support Indonesia in the fields of investment and infrastructure. Meanwhile, another issue that Jokowi and Blinken discussed was the chairmanship of the G20. Jokowi hopes for U.S. support as long as Indonesia runs the G20 presidency. Meanwhile, U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price said Blinken and Jokowi discussed ways to improve U.S.-Indonesia relations, as well as to address challenges to democracy and human rights, as well as the climate crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic. IDX Channel reports.
The Coordinating Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment, who also served as the coordinator for handling PPKM Java Bali, Luhut Binsar Panjaitan, reminded the public not to crowdedly celebrate Christmas and the 2022 New Year, because the government does not want a spike in COVID-19 cases that had touched 50,000 confirmed people reoccur. In fact, in this week's PPKM evaluation results, the public is reluctant to use the Peduli Lindungi application, which is a government screening tool, especially in Java and Bali. Therefore, Luhut asked the local government and policymakers to carry out more massive enforcement related to Peduli Lindungi in the three sectors, namely transportation, shopping centers, and recreation.
Penurunan penggunaan Peduli Lindungi yang cukup signifikan di Jawa Bali. Minggu ini terdapat 74% kabupaten kota di Jawa Bali mengalami tren penurunan penggunaan check-in Peduli Lindungi dibandingkan minggu lalu. Menjelang Natal dan Tahun Baru ini, tren mingguan check-in Peduli Lindungi di sektor transportasi, pusat perbelanjaan, rekreasi mengalami tren penurunan.
And we're moving on to global update. Abu Dhabi Crown Prince hosted Israel's Prime Minister in the first ever public meeting. Meanwhile, the draw for the Champions League knockout stage took place for a second time due to a technical problem. More stories on today's International Minute. Mainland China has reported its first case of the highly transmissible Omicron variant in the northern city of Tianjin, posing what could be the biggest threat to date to the country's zero-COVID strategy. The Chinese authorities reported on Monday that the Omicron case was detected on 9 December from an overseas returnee who showed no symptoms on arrival. The patient is being quarantined and treated in a designated hospital. Abu Dhabi Crown Prince Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan hosted Israel's Prime Minister Naftali Bennett in the first ever public meeting. Bennett met Crown Prince on Monday at his private palace, Israeli officials said, following the PM's arrival in the Emirati capital late on Sunday. Bennett's trip this week to the Gulf Arab Federation comes against the backdrop of nuclear talks between world powers and regional arch rivals Iran over its nuclear program. At least one person in the UK has died with Omicron coronavirus variant, the Prime Minister has said. Boris Johnson said the new variant was also resulting in hospital admissions, and the best thing people could do was get their booster jab. Health Secretary Sajid Javid told MPS Omicron now represented 20% of cases in England. The UK recorded 54,661 new coronavirus cases on Monday. as well as 38 deaths within 28 days of a positive test. Holders Chelsea will play French side Lille in the Champions League last 16 after the draw for the knockout stage took place for a second time. A technical problem caused an error in the initial draw, which UEFA said had been declared void. Premier League champions Manchester City face Portugal Sporting Lisbon, while six-time winners Liverpool played three-time winners Inter Milan, and Manchester United face Spanish champions Atletico Madrid. IDX Channel reports. Market headlines will be back. Stay tuned with us.
Masker dan vaksin mengikat janji, janji setia, setia abadi. Oh, 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 masker, oh, vaksin, kau buat sejati. Ayo masker, ayo vaksin, tiada yang dapat merenggut sehatmu.
Menyampaikan informasi terkini seputar ekonomi dan bisnis dari dalam negeri. Saksikan News Screen setiap Senin sampai dengan Jumat pukul 14.30 waktu Indonesia Barat hanya di IDX Channel.
Presiden Joko Widodo menghadiri konferensi tingkat tinggi COP26 di kota Glasgow, Skotlandia.
Dengan potensi alam yang begitu besar, Indonesia terus berkontribusi dalam penanganan perubahan iklim.
Wakil Presiden Maruf Amin menegaskan pengembangan industri halal menjadi salah satu fokus pemerintah dalam memajukan sektor industri di Indonesia.
Kita mampu untuk menjadi produsen halal terbesar.
Welcome back on Market Headlines. As stated by Finance Ministry's official, the Indonesian government plans to raise 973 trillion rupiah in loans to finance a budget deficit of 868 trillion rupiah next year.
The Indonesian government plans to raise 973.6 trillion rupiah in loans to finance a budget deficit of 868 trillion rupiah next year, a finance ministry official has said. Nearly 80% to 82% of the loans worth 973.6 trillion rupiah will be derived from domestic sources and 18% to 20% from foreign currencies.
Pembiayaan utang sebesar 973,6 triliun. Nah, ini artinya teman-teman media bahwa selama tahun 2022 kita akan melakukan pembiayaan utang melalui penerbitan SBN ataupun pelaksanaan pinjaman dengan target netnya adalah sebesar 973,6. Jadi kalau dalam tahun berjalan, misalnya bulan Februari, bulan Maret, ataupun bulan Mei, Juni, ada penerbitan SBN, ada pelaksanaan pinjaman, ini artinya bukan pemerintah itu melakukannya sporadis.
Gross government bonds will be offered through an auctions and non-auction system, including primary market, with government debt papers reaching 69% to 72% and state Sharia government bonds starting 28% to 31%. He expressed the hope that the ratio of debts to the GDP next year will be lower than the projected 43.1%, like what was seen in 2021. The target could be achieved thanks to supporting factors such as maximizing the use of unspent funds of 2021, enforcing the harmonized tax law, and implementing the voluntary disclosure program. IDX Channel reports.
Until mid-December 2021, the Coordinating Minister for Economic Affairs revealed that the absorption of funds for the National Economic Recovery Program was only 69.8% of the total ceiling of 744.77 trillion rupiah. Coordinating Minister for Economic Affairs Erlangga Hartarto said that the realization of the absorption of funds for the National Economic Program was only 69.8% of the total ceiling of 744.77 trillion rupiah. If it is calculated, it means that the absorbed funds are only 513.89 trillion rupiah. Erlangga said the funds were used for various programs. First, the realization in the health program is 143.29 trillion or 66% of the 214.96 trillion ceiling budget. Second, the realization in the social protection program is 152 trillion rupiah or 81% of the ceiling of 186.64 trillion rupiah. The funds are used to distribute social assistance to the community.
Realisasi daripada program PEN adalah 69,8%, klaster kesehatan 143,29 triliun atau 66%, Perlinsos 81% atau 152 triliun, program prioritas 70,9 atau 83,64 triliun, dukungan UMKM dan korporasi 77,73 triliun.
Third, the realization of the MSME and Corporate Support Program was only 77 trillion rupiah. This figure is equivalent to 48% of the ceiling of 162.4 trillion rupiah. Fourth, the realization of priority programs of 83.6 trillion rupiah. The amount has only been realized 70.9% of the target of 117.9 trillion. Fifth, the government disbursed 62.8 trillion rupiah for business incentives. The figure is in accordance with the provided ceiling, which is 62.8 trillion rupiah. IDX Channel reports. The House of Representatives approved a revenue budget of 6.32 trillion rupiah for OJK in 2022. There are several notes for OJK, so its efforts, policies, and activities can strengthen supervision, consumer protection, and literacy.
The House of Representatives approved a revenue budget of 6.32 trillion rupiah for the Financial Services Authority or OJK during a working meeting here on Monday. Chairman of Commission 11 of the House of Representatives Dito Ganinduto announced that the budget will be used for operational activities of 521.8 million rupiah, administrations of 5.26 trillion rupiah, asset procurement activities of 543.53 million rupiah, and other supporting activities of 80.94 million rupiah. In the agreement, there are several notes for OJK, so its efforts, policies, programs, and activities can strengthen supervisions, consumer protections, educations and literacy, and its organizations and human resources. Furthermore, based on the directive, the OJK's main performance indicator in 2022 is targeted to be achieved more effectively and efficiently compared to the previous year. He also requested that OJK's strategic policy next year focus on anticipating the impact of cliff effect risk from policy normalizations and potential risks of COVID-19 development, encouraging the accelerations of digital economic transformations, and increasing the effectiveness of financial inclusions and consumer protections. IDX Channel reports.
Public Works and Public Housing Minister Basuki Hadimulyono discussed potential cooperation in toll road and housing development with representatives of Turkish companies at the ministry's headquarters in Jakarta. He said he expected the meeting to strengthen the two countries' bilateral cooperation and help Indonesia to realize its infrastructure development projects. There is a lot of investment potential between Indonesia and Turkey, he added. Turkish construction companies are some of the best global contractors and have successfully executed 7,725 projects in 128 countries worth $424.5 billion. Most of the projects have involved the construction of housing, roads, bridges, and tunnels in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, he added. The minister then urged Turkish corporations to invest in infrastructure sectors in Indonesia through both public-private partnership as well as engineering, procurement, and construction schemes. Stay with us, Market Headlines. We'll be back with information from the capital market.
Awalnya nggak langsung yakin, tapi setelah ikut 2 kali acara edukasi Bursa Efek, akhirnya tertarik juga.
Karena mudah, saya ajarkan ibu-ibu lain, sampai anak saya juga ikutan.
Selesai dagang, saya bawa 100.000 untuk nabung saham. Hasilnya jelas sekali.
Yuk kita nabung saham sekarang.
Ini kan digital ini kan untuk masa depan. Kalau kembali ke masa lalu, jadinya Digimon dong.
Sekarang apa-apa serba digital dong. Ya. Baca koran
digital,
ya kan? Baca buku
digital.
Nanti baca pikiran juga digital, bro. Apa-apa sekarang mau transportasi online harus peduli lindungi, masuk museum peduli lindungi.
Betul.
Nanti masuk rumah mertua kata dia kemarin.
Oh iya benar. Juga perlu. Itu juga penting. Pentingnya menjaga kesehatan calon mantu.
Pak Diki, sebelum membahas lebih jauh, apa nih? Ada varian baru dari COVID-19 yaitu Omicron.
Omicron ini 1,3 kali lebih cepat menular dari Delta varian.
Presiden Joko Widodo menghadiri konferensi tingkat tinggi COP26 di kota Glasgow, Skotlandia.
Dengan potensi alam yang begitu besar, Indonesia terus berkontribusi dalam penanganan perubahan iklim.
Kementerian Pariwisata dan Ekonomi Kreatif secara tegas akan memperketat bagi para wisatawan asing yang akan liburan ke Bali.
Ya, nantinya wisatawan asing harus melakukan swab PCR sebelum keberangkatan.
Para wisatawan-wisatawan yang sehat, para wisatawan yang sudah tervaksin.
Selama pandemi, banyak armada taksi dari Taxi di Thailand menganggur.
Berencana akan melepaskan saham holding BUMN Pertambangan Main ID di Bursa Efek Indonesia. Welcome back on Market Headlines. At the Jakarta Composite Index intraday movement earlier today, JCI was opened at the level of 6,665.38, and then approaching the closing time on the first session, the index was on the level of 6,609, and then the index was showing weakening trend by the second session closing time. Index was closed at the level of 6,615.63, and in short, JCI went down 0.71%. And let's see the sectoral movement of today's trading. Logistics and transportation went up 4.72%. Technology went down 2.08%. Property went down 1.32%. Non-cyclic went down 1.32%. And top gainers for today's trading, BBYB went up 1.54%. AYLS went up 24.44%. BGTG went up 1.8%. And SMDR went up 10.38%. Meantime, the top losers, BBRI went down 0.722%, Arto went down 2.69%, SMGR went down 1.9%, and Harum went down 2.3%. And let's see the intraday movement of Rupiah towards US dollar. Open at the level of 14,351. Rupiah showing strengthening trend towards US dollar. And it was closed at the level of 14,278. And in summary, Rupiah went up 0.03%. Supported by the increasing number of customers, Linknet is optimistic that its revenue to be able to grow in high single digits throughout 2021. Supported by the increasing number of customers, Linknet is optimistic that its revenue to be able to grow in high single digits throughout 2021. According to Linknet's corporate secretary, Johannes, the company's revenue in 2021 is expected to grow at a high single digit compared to 2020. He also said that 80% of company's revenue was contributed by the residential segment and 20% from the enterprise segment. The company has prepared a capital expenditure of 3.1 trillion rupiah in 2021 to achieve this growth target. The capital expenditure has been allocated for the migration project as well as for business as usual activities. For next year, Johannes estimates that Linknet's revenue will grow in high single digits. Meanwhile, Linknet's President, Director and CEO Marlo Budiman say the company was still waiting for an answer from the company shareholders, namely CVC through Asia Link Dewa and First Media regarding the sale of shares to Axel Axiata. IDX Channel reports. Digital media Tama Maxima is expanding its business into digital wholesale through its subsidiary Pentabenua. The subsidiary targets revenue in 2022 to reach 1.8 trillion rupiah with a gross margin of 6 to 7%. Digital media Tama Maxima is expanding its business into digital e-wholesale through its subsidiary Pentabenua. This move was marked by the launch of Siap, an e-wholesale platform. Didik Meiko, CEO of Pentabenua, explained that the Siap platform provides a warehouse management system, seller application, delivery distribution system, KPI dashboard, and financial reports for wholesale fast-moving consumer goods inventory and digital product management. The Siap platform focuses on building distribution partnerships among various distribution channels, connecting manufacturers, wholesalers, retailers, communities, and e-commerce to end customers. Pentabenua targets revenue in 2022 to reach 1.8 trillion rupiah with a gross margin of 6 to 7%. Meanwhile, the forecast is for a growth of at least 80% annually in the next 3 years, with business growth coming from the addition of coverage area, increasing the number of customers, complete product assortment range, and utilizing the community as a distribution channel. IDX Channel reports. And step aside from market condition as the efforts in achieving herd immunity is still going on. Here is an update data about COVID-19 vaccinations in Indonesia. And the news closes our market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, your trustworthy economic, business, and capital market channel. Even though the pandemic situation is getting better, the discipline of wearing masks must be maintained, even though we have been vaccinated. Moreover, ahead of Christmas and the New Year, we are appealed to limit activities to prevent a spike in COVID-19 cases. So stay alert, stay safe. And I'm Fajar Wayong. Have a nice evening.
pemirsa.